Matthew 24 is a very controversial passage today, primarily because of the implications of verses 29 through 31. And this would show that whatever coming is being referred to takes place after the tribulation. And if this is concerning the rapture, then that means the pre-tribulation doctrine goes out the window immediately. But the proof that Matthew 24 is about the rapture can be found in Matthew chapter 13. Here we read in verse 39, "The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels." Now most people would agree that the parable of the wheat and the tares is the rapture, and I'm just simply going to take that position as well. And here the harvest would be the end of the world, and the harvest is the rapture. And the reason for that is because the angels are going to be taking the saved, which in this case are the wheat, taking them off the earth and placing them into God's barn, which would be heaven. And that's exactly what we understand the rapture to be. It's taking those who are alive and remain and transforming them into a glorified body when the Lord comes. And they're ever going to be with the Lord, and we're going to be in heaven. So we also see in verse 43, "Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear." Well, this would be talking about the glorified body the believer will receive when the rapture takes place. In 1 Corinthians 15, we have a very clear and a very in-depth look at what that's going to be like. And we're going to have a celestial body, which in context is the sun, moon, and stars. And here in Matthew 13, it's showing that the righteous are going to shine forth as the sun. And Jesus Christ is himself called the Son in the book of Malachi, capital S-U-N, of righteousness. And also, at the end of Revelation chapter 22, Jesus calls himself the bright and morning star. And according to 1 John 3, when Jesus appears, we're going to be like him. Hence, we're going to have the appearance of the celestial bodies. We're going to be given that type of heavenly body. So then, we go back to Matthew 24, and we see the disciples ask in verse 3, "Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world?" So here they're asking, what's going to be the sign of Christ's coming and of the end of the world? And the word "and" here is referring to the same thing. It's not a different thing. The sign of thy coming and the end of the world is simply just another way of restating the same thing twice. Just in case anybody was confused on that. So, what does that mean? That means the disciples are asking, what's going to be the sign of the rapture? What are the things that are going to happen to show us that the rapture is going to take place? And of course, Jesus answers them in a very descriptive chapter here, all the things that have to happen, such as the abomination of desolation, which doesn't take place until the midpoint of the 7 years leading up to the millennium. So, here we have a clear example of comparing Scripture with Scripture that would show that Matthew 24 is indeed talking about the rapture, because the disciples are asking what's going to be the sign of it. So, this is very clear proof of a post-trib rapture, and that Matthew 24, 29 through 31 is about that. And again, I don't expect pre-tribbers to accept this, but this is the plain, simplistic truth of just comparing spiritual things with spiritual things.